The house is quiet, it is nighttime, and that is very appropriate for the subject that I'm talking about right now, which is melatonin and autism. I do sometimes find myself a little bit uncomfortable when I hear people talking about melatonin and kids, especially the way that I generally have heard it talked about. Usually people don't go and talk to their doctor before they put their kids on melatonin. At least that's generally when I've heard it talked about and people decide that they're going to try it. Because it's something that's over the counter, it seems like it's more the sort of thing that people turn to Facebook groups and ask what other people's experiences have been with it. And I don't think that that is necessarily a bad thing. I think that that can be helpful. I just don't think that's what you should base your decision on with something like melatonin. I think that it is important to talk to your kid's doctor about it. We actually put Maggie on melatonin when she was 3 because her pediatrician recommended it. Her pediatrician recommended it because at that point she was just having a horrible time sleeping. She would struggle to go to sleep, and then once she went to sleep, she would jump on the bed for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours at a time just screaming. It was obviously just both a physical stim with a vocal stim, and she was miserable. She was exhausted. We were exhausted. Sadie was exhausted. No one could be asleep in the house while it was going on. She wasn't happy. I mean, it was really, really hard on all of us. And this is when it started probably around the time she was 2. Before that, she had been an excellent sleeper. As a baby, she was an excellent sleeper. As a toddler, she had been an excellent sleeper. And then something happened and it all just came crashing down. And suddenly our good sleeper was gone. And we were not sleeping, and Paul needed sleep because he was in his 2L year, his second year of law school. I needed sleep. I was hugely pregnant, and then I had Patrick and had an infant, and I needed her to sleep so that I could be not sleeping with Patrick. And so I just really needed her to be asleep because a lot of the time I was home by myself while Paul was studying until 1 o'clock in the morning. Something had to give. I didn't go in expecting her doctor to give us anything or suggest anything. I didn't think that there was a medication that was going to make her sleep, basically, because it's not like you drug kids to make them sleep. It just isn't how it works. However, her pediatrician said, I think it would be a really good idea if you tried melatonin with her and let me know how it works. And we were going to be seeing her doctor pretty frequently at that point. And she wanted us to try 1 milligram. And this is the part that usually makes me nervous when people are trying it without the guidance of their doctor. Because when you see the melatonin amounts at the store, they're usually 5 milligrams or 10 milligrams, and those can be pretty big doses for kids. Maggie was a tiny little 3-year-old. She was starting off with 1 milligram. So we got it and we went home, and I was not really expecting anything dramatic. I believe it said something like to try to give it to her 30 minutes before bed or something like that. That was what we were instructed to do. And so I did, and that was not how it was going to work with Maggie, because we figured we'd give it to her before her bath. And I think at that point it was before there were the little 1 milligram chewables. So actually I was taking, I think we found a 2 milligram pill, and I was cutting it in half, grinding it up, and putting it in her bedtime drink. So I gave it to her, she drank it, we took her upstairs to give her a bath, and I was sitting there with her, and she was putting her chin down. After about 5 minutes after she finished her drink, she starts putting her chin down, and she's falling asleep on the edge of the bathtub. And basically it was just extremely clear that it had worked very, very well. And so I got her out, I got her into her pajamas, I put her to bed, and she slept through the night. Now, melatonin, from what I understand, from what I've heard people say, this is not anything that I've read scientifically, this is just, I've heard people say that it's supposed to help you fall asleep, it's not supposed to help you stay asleep. With Maggie, it has always knocked her out. Basically for the whole entire night, she wakes up fine and rested and is herself the next day. So we used it for probably about a year. We used it from roughly 3 to 4 with her. Then one day I didn't have it, and so I didn't give it to her, and she still went to sleep. And so the next day I thought, hey, she didn't need it last night, and we tried it again without melatonin, and she slept just fine. Basically we had this routine. She went straight to bed without all the jumping and the screaming and the stims. That was the new routine, was just going to sleep. We did that, and for years we did that without melatonin. And then something happened and she started having a hard time sleeping again. I went to the store and I bought melatonin, and again I gave her 1 milligram, and at this point she was probably 6, and again she immediately was asleep within 5 minutes of taking that. And so it affects her really, really quickly. This time I gave it to her for about a week just so that we could get over whatever it was that was going on with her, because at the same time she was having just a really hard time behaviorally, and obviously she was going through something, and her not sleeping all night, her being up jumping and crying all night, was obviously aggravating whatever it was. So I started giving her melatonin. She was able to sleep and immediately started doing better, because when you're up all night you feel awful. I knew that wasn't helping the situation. So that's happened several more times where she'll start having a really hard time, she'll stop sleeping, the hard time escalates, and then we'll reintroduce melatonin. It's usually less than 1 time a year, and usually I give it to her for about 7 days. And again, I've kept the same dose that I gave her when she was 3 and about 40 pounds. I still give her 1 milligram. I haven't increased that, even though she's twice the size she was. It's still super, super effective. And since it's super, super effective, I don't see a need to change the dose with her. That's what we do. And the effectiveness for her hasn't changed. Even as a kid who now is way, way taller and weighs 60 pounds, it still puts her right to sleep and helps her sleep easily so that she's not up fretting or upset or trying to sleep and just not able to get herself to sleep. It's not a cure-all. It doesn't fix everything, but it fixes sleep for us. I know it doesn't work for everybody. I know that it works the opposite way for some people. I know that it doesn't help some people. We have been really lucky in that it has helped us, and that her doctors feel comfortable with her taking it, and I feel especially comfortable with her taking it because of the way we've been able to use it, where she goes on it and off it after short amounts of time, and it doesn't seem to affect her sleep when she goes off it. We use it to help her get into a sleep pattern, and then we take it away, and it's never made it harder for her to sleep. So that is how we've used melatonin to help her sleep, to help her keep her routines with sleep. I do think that it is something to be cautious with, not to just give your kid a 10 milligram or a 5 milligram, and to talk to your doctor about it, just because I don't think that it is the sort of medicine that you want to be taking advice off of Facebook or even YouTube without actually talking to your doctor or your child's doctor about. Anyways, that is it for today. If you like this video, we'd love it if you would hit the thumbs up button, and if you're interested in all things autism, we'd love it if you would hit that red subscribe button, and I'll see you tomorrow.